British-born TruRating is a rapidly growing tech startup with multi-award-winning patented technology, allowing consumers to anonymously rate their experience in shops and restaurants around the globe. Because customers interact right at that point of sale, TruRating is making it easier than ever for every consumer to have their say. I'm very pleased to welcome their head of the APAC operations, Sophie Gillings, to Business Success. Sophie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chloe.
Thank you for being here. I wanted to talk to you today about TruRating. So tell me a little about the business. Firstly, where did the idea come from and what have you been doing here in Australia?
So the idea is actually the brainchild of a husband and wife team, Georgina and Christian Nelson. Georgina's the leading light and she's our CEO. She has a background in consumer rights law and she used to work for Which, the Consumer Rights Association in Britain. It's the same as Choice here. When she was working there, she used to hear rapidly often from businesses that felt that they weren't being truly represented in many of the feedback forums that are available, such as social media sites, and also from consumers that felt they weren't being listened to by the businesses they were interacting with. So she thought there's got to be a better way of being able to have those two sides talk to each other more easily and openly. At the same time, she actually was in her local supermarket and she saw that there were some instances where the EFTPOS machine in store was starting to be used for different things apart from payments. So things in the UK, such as adding on gratuities in restaurants, but in the supermarket, actually, it was all about things like you could get you could give some money to charity at the same time. And she thought, okay, that payment terminal could be used for something more. How about that being the new interface between the consumer and the business? How about we put a quick survey on that terminal and we'll be able to gather lots and lots of feedback very rapidly, feed that back to the businesses, and they'll be able to improve and grow, and then consumers will be able to have better interactions with the businesses they work with.
It's a fantastic proposition. We were speaking earlier about, customer rating. It's such a big part of what we do now. Uber is the obvious example, but that sort of customer rating, you're feeding it back to the businesses. So it was obviously launched in the UK, and then you're launching the Australia operations. How are things going here?
So they're going really well, thank you very much. We've been actually launched since March of this year. We did go through a 6-month beta phase, so had our first ratings taken in September of the year before. But since our launch in March, we've just been growing at pace. We're now operational in almost every state in Australia, and we're working across a wide range of different businesses, from large grocery stores and national retail fashion, etc., but all the way down to the corner shop or the local cafe as well. So really servicing businesses of all sizes.
Yeah. Last week on the show, I was talking to you about how I had the Shop Small campaign on, and this customer service and customer experience piece is so important. Some of those retailers that you're working with, the big and the small, how do you develop those relationships and how have you got them on board?
So we have a sales team, and we go out and we do some sort of, traditional sales techniques. We go and actually seek out contacts. Some of our sales guys have got some fantastic black books from previous lives as well.
That's lucky.
I know, it's great. That's why they've been brought on board. Yep. But also we do quite a lot of, trying to source inbound leads as well. So we do a lot of social activity, PR, marketing, etc. as well. So our name is very much getting out there, and I think we're starting to build testimonials from the companies we're working with, and they're actually often selling on our behalf as well, which is fantastic news for us.
Fantastic. So the way the terminals work, obviously I'm in a shop, I'm going to buy something, and then does something sort of pop up on that EFTPOS terminal for me to say, I had a fantastic experience or not so much? Is that how it works?
Yes, absolutely. So every customer is asked just one question, and it does come up exactly on the EFTPOS machine when you pay. So you'll go through the normal process, you'll gather up your goods, and then the cashier will start to check those out. When it's decided that you want to pay by card, the question pops up first of all on that machine. It's a very brief question. It has to fit on the payment terminal itself. And you're asked to rate on an aspect of customer service from 0 to 9, 0 being terrible, 9 being awesome. All that data is then aggregated up and it's presented back to companies in a suite of dashboards online, and also back to consumers via a consumer comparison website as well.
Fantastic. So that's what TruRating provides. You're providing the information back to the businesses.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow, it's amazing. How closely do you work with the sort of British operations? And obviously, Georgina, you mentioned the founder, and as to what you're doing here, and how do you communicate? I know it's hard across border and across time zones. How does that work?
It works really well, actually. I would say it's probably the worst time difference you could possibly have.
Yes, I would agree. I do a lot of calls with London.
But it works really fantastically. We are constantly in communication. We use a lot of Skype. We have to say we're huge fans of Skype in the business. We do use the traditional techniques such as email and stuff as well, but also actually we do things like WhatsApp to have quick messages across. we're often the ones that are actually the ones on calls late at night, but everyone gives and takes because we appreciate that, not everyone, it's not fair for one part of the business to always be the one up late at night. So we tend to work around the clock. We also have operations in Atlanta and in Toronto as well. So negotiating between all of those time zones can be tricky, but we make sure that we're always on a call at least once a week, but more often than that generally.
It's really good advice, and good advice working in teams sort of across those jurisdictions. What does the team in Australia look like that you manage, and what sort of a leader would you say that you are?
So there is 10 in our offices here in Sydney. We're focused on the sales, marketing and merchant services activities here. We have a core technology based out of the UK, our headquarters, but we also have a specific technology team here because the financial services sector and environment is actually quite different from overseas. And they have real expertise in terms of that financial services partnership area and technology. In terms of my leadership style, I'd say that I'm very much all about getting on the expertise of a fantastic team. I couldn't have asked for a better one. And then I tend to work very closely with those guys one-on-one and really try and understand them, understand what motivates them, and really try and get the most out of that relationship by acting on a one way.
Yeah, and it's all about growth, I guess, in these tech startups. You've been going since March, but you obviously had that 6-month prior. As far as driving the growth of the business in Australia, how do you strategize that, and what are you doing there?
So growth is always it's a great problem to have, but obviously every single startup or even growing company that's already established really has to build to grow. I'd say that, we haven't got everything perfect. We know that we've got some processes and things that we need to streamline a little bit more, but we're constantly evolving to try and meet those needs because we are somewhat having demand outstrip supply at the moment in effect. So we are constantly looking to be what will be the next step that we need to make. So say we're at 10,000 outlets now, what would it mean if we're at 100,000 outlets tomorrow? And what would we need to set that up? We use all of the team are input into that process, and we make sure that we are kind of trying to be on the front foot.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you always worked in this sort of startup space, Sophie? Or
So no, not actually. I started out in one of the largest sort of enterprise-grade companies out there, pharmaceutical industry actually. But I've always worked in data marketing. Okay. So I've previously actually headed up client services for a data marketing agency across Asia Pac as well. So all about that relationship building, all about making sure that businesses have the information they need to make the right decisions or make really informed decisions. And what really excites me about TruRating is that it is so at the heart of how businesses operate. If you understand what your customers think and you link that to how they're spending, you can really pinpoint the areas of the business that you need to work on to get the most for you, but also the most for the consumers that are interacting with you.
Yeah, so it's completely customer focused, isn't it? You kind of did just give me a few answers then to my next question, which was valuable lessons for those in a startup. Would you say it's that then? It's the listening, the giving the customer what they want, the data piece?
Absolutely.
Anything else there?
It's totally about listening. I would say there are a few practical things about a startup as well. I said before, I think the most important thing is to make sure you've got a fantastic team behind you. You can by no means do everything, obviously, yourself. And I think that's a lesson that especially Georgina would talk about as well. As a founder, you naturally want to have your fingers in every single pie in the business, but you've got to trust those that you bring on board to be able to do their jobs really fantastically. I'd also say really lean on your network. When you have a great idea, sometimes it's easy to want to try and hide it away and be a bit secretive until you've sort of made the big burst. But unless you really involve your network, get your advocates out there selling on your behalf, you're probably never going to be quite as successful as you could be. So learn to lean on others, and then no doubt their time will come when they'll lean on you as well, and it's a mutually useful relationship.
It's really fantastic advice. Thank you, Sophie. We've got to wrap it up. Thank you for coming on Business Success. I told you it would go quickly. Coming up after the break, we'll hear from Danny Green. See you then.